big relationship in your life ends, it can seriously feel like the ground has just vanished from under your feet. You're probably feeling lost, maybe a little disoriented, and just have no idea which way is up. So in this explainer, we're going to lay out a kind of map for this incredibly difficult terrain. This whole framework comes from the first class of the Exploring Beyond Divorce video course, which is based on the amazing real-world teachings of Ronnie Kaufman. It breaks down the 3 distinct journeys we all have to go through to find our way to healing. Okay, so before we dive into the map itself, let's just pause for a second and acknowledge where you are right now. This is a really, really tough time, and it's so tempting to look for a shortcut, right? A quick fix to make the pain go away. But the first real step forward, well, it's accepting the reality of the journey that's ahead of you. It's all about being brutally honest with yourself about where you're at. That's where the healing actually starts. So, what does this journey look like in terms of time? Well, the experience and research that this course is built on shows that the whole emotional healing process, it typically takes somewhere between 2 and 4 years. I know, that can sound like a lifetime, and for some it might even be longer. The point isn't to discourage you, but to be realistic. There are no quick fixes that actually stick. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So, how in the world do you navigate a 2 to 4 year journey? Well, the good news is we can break it down into 3 distinct stages. Think of this as your roadmap. First, there's the journey of endings. Then you move into what's called the neutral zone. And finally, you get to arrive at new beginnings. Just knowing which stage you're in can be so grounding. It can bring a little bit of order when everything else feels like complete chaos. All right, let's dive into that first stage, the journey of endings. And I'm not going to lie, this is often the hardest, most emotionally draining part of the whole thing. This is where you have to face that raw pain and start the long, hard work of healing those deep emotional wounds. This stage feels, well, it feels like an emotional roller coaster. One day you might feel a tiny glimmer of hope, like, okay, I can do this. And then the very next day, you're hit with this huge wave of sadness or anger or just profound hurt. It's a really disorienting time, and it can leave you feeling totally out of control, like you're just being tossed around by something much bigger than you. So, how do you get through this emotional storm? Well, the course points to 4 key things you need to focus on. First, you've got to deal with the practical stuff, all the logistics of your new life. Second, you have to, and I mean have to, let yourself grieve all your losses, the big ones and the little ones. Third, and this is huge, find a dedicated support group. And finally, you have to start the really tough practice of saying goodbye. You might be wondering, what exactly is a healthy support group? It's basically a community of people who just get it. They get it because they're living it too. Your friends and family, they mean well. Of course they do, but they often can't fully understand what you're going through. A support group gives you this unique, safe space where you can share what's happening without any judgment and, maybe for the first time, realize you are not alone in this. So, after you've managed to weather that initial storm of endings, you'll find yourself stepping into the second journey, the neutral zone. Now, this isn't necessarily a place of total bliss, but it is a major shift. It's a transition toward a much quieter, more reflective way of being. Let's talk about what that feels like. In the neutral zone, that crazy emotional intensity starts to fade. Life just begins to slow down. It really is like passing through a portal from the chaos of endings into a more peaceful, reflective space. The pain might still be there, sure, but that constant, frantic, buzzing energy has started to die down. And your focus starts to shift too. The neutral zone is a time for some really deep self-reflection and personal discovery. You start asking yourself, who am I now? And this is the important part, you do it without judgment. You're still handling practical things, and you're still leaning on your support system, but now you're also trying to understand your grief on a much, much deeper level. After all that reflection in the neutral zone, you're finally ready for the last and honestly the most hopeful stage of the journey, new beginnings. This is where you start to really look forward again. It's a time of discovery, of awakening to all the new possibilities that are waiting for you. The Course actually describes this as the single most important journey you'll take. Why? Because this is where you consciously and actively get to build your future. This is your chance to fill your life with peace and joy and love, and to really truly step into the new you. So the focus here is all about action. You're not just saying goodbye to the past anymore. Now you're actively saying hello to your new self. That intense, overwhelming need for grieving starts to fade, and you begin looking for support that's not just about healing from the past, but about actively growing into your future. Okay, so we've laid out the entire map, the three big journeys of this process. Now let's kind of bring it all together and give you a chance to think about where you might be on your own path forward. This chart really brings the whole journey into focus, doesn't it? You can see the progression so clearly. In endings, you're just beginning to say goodbye, but in new beginnings, you're actively saying hello to your new life. See the difference? In endings, you're finding support just to survive. By new beginnings, you're finding support so you can grow. Just take a second and see where you think you might be on this path right now. Now, let's get a little personal with a few questions for you to think about. First off, what are the specific losses you've experienced? And think beyond just the relationship. Have you lost a home, a daily routine, a future you had all planned out? And then, be honest. How does it all truly make you feel? Next up, let's talk about your support system. Who are the people you're leaning on right now? Is it family, friends, maybe a therapist, or a support group? And here's the real kicker. Is it actually working for you? Is the support you have actually helping you to heal and move forward? And finally, let's touch on the practical side of all this. How are you managing everything? The finances, your living situation, all those day-to-day logistics. Getting a handle on these concrete issues is a massive step toward cutting down your stress and getting back a sense of control over your own life. As you think about all these questions, just remember this one crucial thing. Be honest with yourself. Real, true progress comes from being radically honest about your feelings, about what you need, and about where you truly are on this journey. No sugarcoating, okay? We're going to leave you with this powerful thought from Roy T. Bennett. If you want to fly, you have to give up what weighs you down. This whole journey is about letting go for sure, but it's also about acceptance, about self-love, and about finding the courage to just keep moving forward one step at a time. The path isn't easy, but the really good news is there is a path.